World, and welcome to another episode of Plugged In from YAA. Today, I'm joined by fellow auto expert Justice from the YAA community. Justice helps our YAA members find the best deal for their auto purchase or lease. So after the show, make sure you head over to joinyaa.com to get professional help with your car purchase, your lease, or just vehicle ownership experiences. Our members have saved thousands of dollars, right, Justice?
Absolutely.
What is
Thousands saved every day.
What is the most any YAA member has saved to your knowledge?
Well over $10,000
Wow,
between front end and back end.
that's impressive. And I think I forgot to mention, my name's Justin Fisher, and I'm the electric vehicle specialist over at the YAA Community Forum. So if you're thinking about going the electric route for your next vehicle ownership experience, join YAA. Let me know what your questions or concerns are, and we'll help you figure out the best solution for your driving needs. It's great to see a lot of people in the chat today over here in YouTube world. Good morning, Susanna. Igor, Boomer, my sooner. Nice. Matt, Dwayne, John, Christopher, Neil. Hello, everyone. Today's headline topic is going to be about the Kia EV6 and Hyundai IONIQ 5. 2 months ago, I purchased an IONIQ 5. It's an all-wheel drive limited trim. It's the first time I've ever had a new car. It's the first time I've ever had a top-of-the-line car trim. It's nice. Wanted to go get the luxuries, all the creature comforts, as they say. We're going to see, did I make the right decision? Because I've since learned the positives and negatives of the IONIQ 5, and I've also been seeing the first Kia EV6s on the road. I couldn't even test drive one whenever I was shopping around. But now that I've seen them and I've learned more about them, there are some things that I wish I had from the Kia EV6. Did I make the right decision? Justice and I will probably talk it out. We'll talk it out. And then we've got a little bit of news today. It's been kind of a slow week. First, let's dive right into the Hyundai and Kia stuff. So, Justice, I don't miss driving around our Nissan or our Subaru Forester because where I live in West Virginia, gas prices are like $4.50 a gallon. Where you live in California, what are they like today?
It was 6.59 a gallon for regular today at the gas station near me.
Wow.
So I don't remember when it was 4.50. I can't remember back that far.
Yeah, you need a stimulus
Uh,
package for gas prices.
Yeah,
Wow.
they say they're working on it actually, believe it or not. We'll see if that ever manifests.
We'll see. The IONIQ 5 and Kia EV6, they're decent when it comes to electric efficiency, but really when you're comparing it to paying for gas, it's a whole nother ball game full of benefits. I have calculated that with my driving habits, my wife and I share the new electric car. It's saving us about $150 to $175 a month. So that definitely helps to offset the monthly payment. So if you're thinking about going electric and feel a bit intimidated by the upfront cost, that's warranted because EVs are on average about $10,000 more expensive than combustion equivalents. However, when I'm saving about $150 a month on gas, on fuel expenses, it helps quite a bit. Not to mention incentives. Let's start out by talking about what these two vehicles have in common: the Kia EV6 and Hyundai IONIQ 5. They are two of the most popular electric vehicles on the market right now, and that's why it's so hard to find one on a dealership lot. You may have to place an order and wait months for one, but there are some out there. Both Hyundai and Kia are under the umbrella of Hyundai Motor Group. Hyundai owns about 34% of Kia. As they've been going electric, they've been sharing a lot of their engineering, and that's probably a good thing because the product has been amazing, as I can attest with my IONIQ 5 experience. They partnered up to create the electric global modular platform for these two vehicles, the eGMP platform. What makes the eGMP platform so special is that it's 800-volt architecture. 800-volt architecture means you can charge really fast. And I love charging fast because whenever I go to Electrify America on a road trip, I'm only there for about 20 minutes. I've seen even the beautiful Volkswagen ID4 pulling up next to me and hanging out for twice as long. It's also a 2022 model, costs about the same, maybe a little bit less, but I'm in and out in half the time that they are.
At least half the time.
Yeah, Justice, is that almost on par with Tesla's charging abilities?
Yeah, it's about the same. When I went to the superchargers, it's 20, 30 minutes. I mean, I'm not going from 0 to 100. Obviously, I'm right in that window. I keep it in there, so it's pretty quick, which is nice. Till Tesla opens that up to everybody else, and we have to wait for them to finish charging.
Yeah, I have not had any backups at Electrify America stations yet. That's another thing the EV6 and Ioniq 5 have in common is they do have some form of Electrify America incentive. My Ioniq 5's incentive is actually way better. I get 2 years of 30-minute sessions with the Ioniq 5, and I never really need to be there more than 30 minutes anyways. I think the longest I ever did plug in was 30 minutes. 2 years of free charging at Electrify America with the Ioniq 5. Depending on how much you travel, that could save you a few $1,000s. Although charging an electric vehicle at home is far more affordable than any other option out there. Occasionally, you will need to fast charge at a public DC fast charger. You do not want to rely on public fast chargers for your everyday driving needs. It is more likely that you will degrade your battery's health quickly, and that's just not good. You'll lose range, you'll lose resale value. But when you do hit the road, the Kia EV6 comes with 1,000 kilowatt hours of charging at Electrify America, complimentary charging. That's about twice as much as I've used in my 2 months of ownership because I've taken a few road trips already. If you drive like the normal American driver, that Kia EV6 Electrify America incentive will probably last you 6 months if you take a few road trips here and there. It's better than nothing, right? But the Ioniq 5 does have a better Electrify America incentive. Justice, when was the last time Tesla offered free charging?
Before I got it, it's been a while. Even the affiliate links have dried up, so it's been a couple of years, a few years.
Yeah, I think in 2019 they still had the Model 3 Performance that had some kind of incentive.
I think you had to have a link for that. So I think you had to have a referral from a Tesla owner still, even then to get that.
Learning Fast here in the chat has a great point. Teslas are still quite a bit more efficient than this eGMP platform from Kia and Hyundai. My Ioniq 5 charges lower miles per hour than a Tesla Model 3, even though the average kilowatt rate is greater. Technically true because Tesla has mastered efficiency. I'm not even going to pretend like I have better efficiency. I don't, but I do like the way my car looks. The Kia and Ioniq 5 do have quite different style designs or design language. The Ioniq 5 is a very retro futuristic look with a lot of pixelated themes. I'm a fan of that pixelated theme. The Kia
It's
EV6 is
the eight. It's the 8-bit vehicle out there.
yeah, and we'll talk about DeLorean today,
Yeah.
but I've had two people ask me if my car was the new DeLorean. I don't think they know much about the automotive scene, but I'm a fan of the electric DeLorean that is apparently on the way. We'll talk about that in today's news segment, so stay tuned. Ioniq 5, pixelated, retro theme, whereas the Kia EV6 is just about the opposite. It's a much more sleek, spaceship looking design. They both look like they're from the future, so we could say the future is here, but they're different takes on science fiction, I would say. The Kia EV6 is much more angular, sleeker. It sits a few inches lower than my Ioniq 5. So my Ioniq 5 feels a little bit more like an SUV, even though I still see it as an oversized hatchback. But that's not a bad thing in my opinion. Whereas the Kia EV6 kind of looks like a stretched out sports car. It's a bit longer.
Yeah, it definitely looks more coupe-ish than the IONIQ.
For sure. Both the Kia EV6 and IONIQ 5 have a recall right now. Awkward, right? I've only had my car for 2 months and I've already got a recall I've got to get figured out. It is not a major recall. There have not been any incidences of the concern even happening in the United States, but in Korea, 4 instances of IONIQ 5s rolling away down a hill have occurred because the electric brake when the vehicle's in the park position just fails because of a jump in voltage that is unexpected. So what they've recommended until I can get it into my Hyundai dealer is to leave the parking brake on. Same for the Kia EV6. Fortunately, all I have to do is take it to the dealership and they'll do a software update for me quite quickly from what I hear. I can't do it at home though, like Tesla's over-the-air updates.
Uh,
Wish I could, but
I was going to say, you don't just get to go to sleep and have it fixed for you in the morning.
yeah, so if our viewers
That's
and
got to be
listeners
annoying.
yeah, for our viewers and listeners, Justice, can you explain just why Tesla like, how has Tesla made fixing a recall or even just improving the vehicle in general, how has Tesla made that easier? What do they do that other automakers don't do yet?
It's so much, not just recalls, but continuous improvements in battery health, life, range have all come over the air updates. So, if you leave that on, you plug in at night when you go to bed, you get up in the morning and your car has new features, it has better range, recall issues are fixed. Actually, Tesla's gotten in a little bit of trouble with that, not reporting recalls because they just fix it over the air and don't report it to the government, who gets a little bit annoyed at that. So, from their point of view, they're just trying to get it done and out and fixed. From the government's point of view, they're hiding some of these recalls. Thing is that every vehicle has recalls. Can't think of one that doesn't. Tesla, to my knowledge, is the only one who fixes it sleeping, comes to your house, and you don't have to take it anywhere.
Yeah, I'm a bit jealous. Many 2022 models of electric vehicles are supposedly coming equipped with over-the-air update capability, but we've seen time and time again that it's not quite ready for prime time, and EV owners like myself still have to go into the dealership for simple fixes. Maybe it'll happen someday. I believe Ford may be next up with actually succeeding with their over-the-air update capability. We'll see if that happens with the new F-150 Lightning. Let's talk
I agree. I think their electric program is going to be all in on that.
Let's talk power and then, well, first range, then power, and then price point. We're also going to get into the similarities and differences when it comes to interior volume, storage volume, and drop us comments in the chat. Let us know what do you want to know about these two vehicles, the IONIQ 5 and EV6, because there are some surprising differences, even though they share the same electric platform. Let us know in the chat. What do you want to know? Range. Range is still king in EV world until chargers are on every corner, and it doesn't look like that's going to happen anytime soon. Maybe by the end of the decade, but for the next few years, chargers are not going to be all that common. Doing the best we can. The Hyundai IONIQ 5 in the rear-wheel drive configuration gets 303 miles of range. That's pretty good. And testing has shown that it is pretty accurate because keep in mind, this 303 miles, this is based on the EPA's certification cycle. Automakers have a few different choices for how they will approach EPA certification. And we see that some EVs have quite accurate EPA range ratings, while others are a little bit optimistic. 303 for the IONIQ 5 rear-wheel drive configuration seems to be pretty realistic, and that's good news if you're a road tripper. All-wheel drive, the trim that I have, 256 miles. And I can say from putting 3,000 miles on my vehicle in 2 months that on the highway, range is going to be more like 200, maybe 220 miles. It's okay for me because I like to stop every 2 hours or so for a quick break, and that's enough time to charge back up. Around town, efficiency has been impressive. I've been getting about 4.5 miles per kilowatt hour. around town, and that's equal to over 300 miles on a charge around town. I'm happy with that. It suits my needs for someone who's road tripping every weekend and doesn't want to stop every 2 hours because they have a bladder made of steel. Maybe they wouldn't be too happy with these figures, but for me, it works. The Kia EV6 is more aerodynamic. It has a lower drag coefficient, and that's going to get you slightly better efficiency. But I still like the way the Ioniq 5 looks better. All right, we have to have a little debate. Which one do you think looks better, Justice, based on your personal style preferences?
My, so I've sat in both. I've only driven the one, but looks wise, I kind of like the Kia a little bit more on the outside, but the Ionic more on the inside.
Ah, yes, yes.
So
Now, whenever you sat in the Kia, how was the interior design different in your opinion?
it was more minimalist, not Tesla level, obviously, but it was more of a what I would think of EV vehicle, whereas the Ionic is more of a crossover. Still has the things that you're used to in an ICE vehicle, the more tactile buttons and things. Whereas the Kia is more this minimalist EV thing.
I felt like the Kia EV6, since I've finally been able to see one in person, it has more of a sporty feel in the front driver's seat where it kind of hugs the driver. It's going to be good for cornering, whereas my Ioniq 5, in my opinion, it's good for cornering because I'm coming from a Nissan Altima, which is not good for cornering. But when you compare it to other performance cars, which you can't even really call the Ioniq 5 a performance car, but when you compare it to performance cars like maybe a Model 3 Performance, or a Mustang Mach-E, the Kia EV6 is gonna be much more in the same vein of being able to support the driver when you're taking those hard corners. Do you agree?
Yeah, absolutely.
However, the Ioniq 5 has a much more living room-like atmosphere on the inside. That's one of the things that Hyundai's marketing team has been pushing for the Ioniq 5 is it's a vehicle that feels like a living room, and my seat reclines all the way back. I'm talking flat. My seat goes all the way back, and I've used that
And
feature a few times.
you have a footrest too, right?
I have a footrest. It's kind of just a gimmick because the footrest does not go up enough to support my foot. I think
No.
if you're under 5'8", it might work for you. So my wife gets to use it. But I'm 6 foot. Footrest is a joke. But I like being able to lay all the way back, and it does feel like a very, very cavernous open interior. We'll talk about interior volume in a minute. I need to pull up those numbers so I don't lie to anyone. But I know that interior volume is quite impressive. Storage capacity is a bit less than some competitors like the Model Y, but it's still pretty good. All right, now Kia EV6 range. That's what we were talking about before I got sidetracked. The rear wheel drive model, 310 miles. That's a bit better than the Ioniq 5's 303 because of that lower drag coefficient. It sits a bit lower, it's more aerodynamic. The all-wheel drive version, 274 miles. Pretty good. That's a much better advantage over the Ioniq 5. 256 with my Ioniq 5, 274 with the EV6. That's 18 miles, and that could really make a difference on a road trip. I
They can make
think
a lot of difference on a road trip when you're talking having to redo that 4 times.
yeah, you could probably skip a charging stop over the course of a
Mhm.
500-mile trip because of that range difference. That could save you 20 minutes of time. For me, the full equation with the Ioniq 5 was still compelling enough. We've got Phil here in the chat. The Ioniq 5 is a head turner for sure. I agree. At stoplights, I get people staring at me. It's kind of weird. I need to tint my windows. But yeah, looking the styling, the interior volume, it all just kind of pieced together the puzzle for me in a way that I decided to go the Ioniq 5 route. But the Kia EV6, it does have more range, and we're about to take our first summer trip here in a month down to the beach, and I looked at the charging infrastructure. guess what? There are Tesla superchargers all over the place, but there's like one Electrify America station 50 miles from the coast. I kind of wish I had that extra 18 miles of range. I wonder if an over-the-air update will ever come to give me even just 5 more miles of range. That's what I want to know. Justice,
I'm
do you
sure they, I'm sure they will. They're always working on that, and it's really about efficiency more than chemistry most of the time. So, that was when I had my Model 3, I got 2 updates, which increased my range. Tesla's always working, not 18 miles, but it was like 5 miles and then 7 miles. And, it kept growing. So, as they get better, these companies get better at efficiency, I think you'll see more and more range out of what you have.
Let's talk 0 to 60 times because people do care about that, all the speed freaks out there. I drive for efficiency, but we all like to smash the pedal at some point. The IONIQ 5 all-wheel drive configuration, 5.2 seconds, 0 to 60. Real-world tests, including plenty on YouTube that you'll find, have shown that it is usually a little bit faster than that. That has surprised me. I'm not sure quite how often that happens in the EV world where 0 to 60 times are underestimated. I've seen anywhere from 4.8 to 5-second readings on real world testing 0 to 60 times for the IONIQ 5. That's fast. The Model Y long range all wheel drive is 4.8, so it's roughly in the same ballpark as the Model Y. The rear wheel drive variant, you're going to get better efficiency, 45 extra miles of range, but way lower 0 to 60 times. So it's not a track vehicle by any means. 7.4 seconds to 60 miles per hour with rear wheel drive, but you can go 300 miles on a charge. That's impressive. Learning Fast in the chat says they've seen 4.7 seconds for the EV6. Yes, officially, the EV6 is good for 5.1 all-wheel drive and 7.3 seconds in the rear-wheel drive configuration. It's interesting how this eGMP platform is outperforming the expectations when it comes to range, when it comes to 0 to 60 times. I like what they've done. Now, Justice, while I dig up these interior and storage volume numbers for these two models, we got to share that with the viewers and listeners. Will you just explain and describe to the viewers what your test drive experiences have been like for these vehicles? Just let us know what you thought. What's your opinion? The Justice take.
Yeah, so actually, a couple of days ago, I test drove the Mazda, the MX-30, the IONIQ 5, the Model S Plaid, and the Model X. I love the IONIQ. I mean, the Model S Plaid obviously won, but it's a car. So, but the other, the IONIQ really opened my eyes. Driving it really gave me a lot more appreciation for it. It was really nice. The Mazda actually was the lower point for me in all of those. Not that there was anything wrong with it, just comparing it to the other 3 vehicles, it just didn't quite. The IONIQ, I believe, as soon as I got back into the parking lot, Justin, I messaged you. I was like, hey, all right, that really helped a lot. Driving it and living in that interior for a little bit, it was really a very nice vehicle. And if I was going to consider something other than a Tesla or a DeLorean or a Lucid, if I was going to consider something that somebody could reasonably afford, I really lean very heavy to the IONIQ 5 now. It's a very nice vehicle, and I enjoyed that.
What did you think of the Mazda? Like, so what was the range? What's the rated range? Because in my opinion, this is
Oh,
the worst deal on the market. You could say the Toyota BZ4X is just as bad, but I mean, even the Toyota BZ4X gets way more range than the 2022 Mazda. Is it the CX-30 or MX-30? What is it called?
I think it's the MX-30,
Okay.
I believe. Yeah, I don't know because I wasn't looking at, I just wanted to do feel, and the Mazda, the best way to say it is felt cheap inside. It just didn't, it just wasn't, and there was from a Model 3 background, obviously, and I had driven both the Teslas first. So not helpful is that there was no, the Mazda didn't feel like it really picked up and went. It felt a lot like an ICE vehicle in its acceleration. Um, the interior just was not super impressive to me. Just wasn't there. You know, the Ionic had a much, much nicer interior to me. It did have that living room feel where the Mazda felt, I don't know, maybe legacy is the right word. It was sort of, here's the leftovers. We're going to put an electric engine in it and try to go. It just wasn't my thing. I mean, it didn't hold. Looked Kia EV6 very, very hard that weekend, and all Memorial Day weekend down in LA. I was hoping I would be able to get into one. I've still never been able to get into test drive one.
So the Mazda is an example of a compliance EV. Compliance EVs are built by automakers so that they can meet their quota for having an average gas mileage or average fuel economy of a certain level to reach mostly California's requirements, right? Isn't it all based on the California requirements? Not to mention these are global automakers, so they're also trying to reach European requirements. The Mazda, don't take it seriously. It would be a very, very bad first experience in the EV world. But I found the numbers we're looking for. So without
Real
further
fast,
ado,
I do want to say that yes, don't make your first EV experience. It's not. It does not drive like an EV.
yeah, at least test drive 5 others if you're even
Yeah.
thinking about the Mazda. Please, please, please. Comparison. IONIQ 5 EV6 passenger volume. Which one has more space for you and your family? Turns out the IONIQ 5 does have a slight advantage with that living room type atmosphere. 107 cubic feet. That's how we measure things here in the US. Versus the Kia EV6's 103 cubic feet of passenger volume. This is pretty good when it comes to crossover space. How are they able to squeeze so much space out of a relatively small footprint vehicle? It's because when you're going with an electric platform, you have the batteries under the floor. The electric motor is about the size of a duffel bag. It's not very big. And what you can do is make the most out of the engineering of the interior dimensions. And what they've done is given us plenty of passenger space. So 107 cubic feet IONIQ 5, 103 cubic feet EV6. Cargo space. The IONIQ 5 has a slight advantage of about the same proportions. 27 cubic feet behind the rear seat, 24 cubic feet in the EV6 behind the rear seat. When you lay them flat, it goes up by a bit. Let's see. When you lay them flat in the EV6, 50 cubic feet. And in the IONIQ 5, 59 cubic feet. That's quite a bit of a jump. I've noticed the space in the IONIQ 5, and I can say that it feels a lot like the Model Y that I had test driven 3 times. That's how seriously I was considering a Model Y. It feels about the same. The Model Y does have the advantage of the supercharger network. It's a bit faster. It has the Tesla name on it. Over the air updates, that's a huge advantage. But my IONIQ 5 and the Kia EV6, they both still qualify for the federal EV tax credit of up to $7,500, depending on your tax situation. But let's talk dealer markups. This will be the last thing I think we'll cover today. Tesla, you can purchase the EV at the price that is listed on the website. Just go through a few pages on the website and you'll be done, probably in 5 minutes. They do change the price quite often, I think in the
Yep.
past year, the Model Y's price has gone up about 20%, and that's not an exaggeration. The Right now, the Model Y is listed at 62,990. The IONIQ 5 is gonna range between 44,000 and 56,000. At the upper level trim, limited all-wheel drive IONIQ 5, if you add the shooting star gray paint, that's gonna cost you an extra $1,000. So it actually goes up to over 57,000 with the IONIQ 5. But you can still qualify for the federal EV tax credit. Not to mention the possibility of state and local incentives for your EV purchase. EV6 also qualifies for the federal EV tax credit. You're going to be looking at a price range of around 43,000 to roughly 55,000. So it's about $1,000 to $2,000 less expensive than the Hyundai. For me, the qualification of the federal EV tax credit was a big factor for my purchase. Otherwise, I might have gone the Tesla route if it had still costed, I mean, the price that it was listed at 6 months ago. 6 months ago, the Model Y was about the same price as the IONIQ 5 is today. Justice, for the 2023 models, we're not going to talk about the specs. We'll have to dig up those numbers, but what do you have hopes for the 2023 models coming from Kia and Hyundai? Do you think anything will get better? Do you think price will stay competitive? Because I know right now we're also dealing with dealer markups that are just through
Yeah.
the roof. I was able to buy mine at MSRP, and if you want to know how, check it out at YAA. But Justice, what do you think is going to happen in the 2023 model year for these two vehicles?
I think they're more efficient. They'll get more eyeballs on them as long as dealers stop with the crazy markups. I mean, when people go and read about your experience, you searched pretty far and wide to get it at MSRP. We don't see a lot of Kia or Hyundai's going for MSRP just because you have to go so far out to find a dealership willing to do that and not gouge you. So I think in 2023, if market can stabilize a little bit, I think there'll be a lot more eyes on these vehicles and efficiencies will get better. And obviously, the more they sell, the better they get at that, and some of the costs can come down. Probably not 2023, probably 2024, 2025. We'll see a stabilization in pricing, but I think there's a good future for these vehicles right now.
Yeah, and Mark in the chat brought up battery replacement warranties. Another reason that I went with Hyundai, and I know Kia is, I think, the same, 10-year, 100,000-mile fully electric powertrain warranty. We've seen Teslas on the road with 200, even 300,000 miles on the battery.
Yep.
I'm feeling confident that this powertrain will have a long, healthy life, especially because I'm not fast charging it all the time. I'm charging at home, usually not over 80%. But in case you're worried about battery costs, 10 years, 100,000 miles, full electric powertrain warranty. That's just about the best in the game right now. The only warranty that is better, other than the Model S and Model X from Tesla, believe it or not, is Rivian. Rivian has a really, really good battery warranty, probably because they're a brand new name in the game. Not a lot of trust yet because they're brand new, but they've got a really good warranty. When you're looking at relatively budget EVs, the IONIQ 5 and EV6 both have really good battery warranties to give you that peace of mind.
I think Rivian has the best warranty out there because you can't get one of the vehicles, so you put 0 miles on, which makes it last a long time.
Yes, indeed. So hopefully we've been able to help those out there thinking about the EV6 and IONIQ 5 get closer to making a decision. They're very similar. They cost roughly between $44,000 and $56,000. Both of them do. They both have between about 250 and 300 miles of range. They both qualify for the federal tax credit. It may come down to which one you can find at a reasonable price in your region. I went 600 miles to get my IONIQ 5 at MSRP. Why did I go 600 miles? Because it saved me between $3,000 and $6,000 compared to the dealers in my area. I was willing to make the trip to save that much money. Let us know what EVs you're considering. send me a message at justin@joinyaa.com, or better yet, join the YAA community forum. We've got an electric vehicle forum specifically on there, in addition to all other different kinds of channels where you can connect with other EV buyers. Even if you're brand new to this, let us know. What are your questions? What are your thoughts? Or maybe you're a nerd like I am. I love chatting with fellow EV enthusiasts on the Join YAA community forum. Justise is on there helping people get deals every day. Justise, thank you for all you do for the community.
Thank you.
And be
Appreciate that.
sure
I'm happy to do it.
and leave us a comment on this video or send me an email. I want to know, what questions do you have about the electrification of the auto industry? How can EV adoption become easier, less of a pain, more exciting for the average driver? Let us know, because we're looking for topics to cover on the upcoming shows. We are releasing our first edited videos on the YAA Electric channel. It's super exciting. Please subscribe, like this video, go check out those videos we've been releasing. I think you'll like what we've done. Give us your feedback, okay? So like and subscribe, please, and thank you. Everyone, have a beautiful day, and we'll see you Friday. Bye,
Everyone have a
Justice.
great week. Bye.